My name is Johanna Rodriguez. I'm the Director of Family Support. I work in the Division of Inclusive and Accessible Learning in our Special Education Office. And today's presentation is titled A Parent's Guide to Special Education. And why are we here tonight? We know that families have lots of questions about special education, which is an amazing thing. Our goal is to make sure that you have all your information that you need to feel confident and supported as you help your child grow and succeed. Here in New York City Public Schools, we have what is called special education teams. And there are three main teams. You may have heard about them. You may know somebody who has mentioned them. But these teams are responsible for initial evaluations, reevaluations, and IEP meetings. The first one most commonly are K through 12 district schools, which are our public schools. And typically, those teams are known as the IEP team. And usually they're within the school building, your child's school building. So if you don't know who your special education team is, please ask your school team if your child attends a public school, who is my IEP team? And someone will guide you to that team. If your child attends a charter, non-public, private, or religious school, our committees on special education, or our CSEs, deal with our school-age children, ages 5 through 21, and these committees are responsible for our special education process for those students who attend those schools. And then our littles, our preschools, our students who are ages 3 to 5, these students' special education supports can be found for our preschool special education, our committees on preschool special education, which are our CPSEs. And that typically are teams where the child lives. So a little bit different than our other two school teams. How to request special education services. So if you think your child needs special education services at school, you can ask for an evaluation to see if they qualify. This is called an initial referral. It should be sent to your school's IEP team or a committee on special education. If you need help making the referral, any of the IEP teams that I've mentioned prior will help you. The referral should be made in writing. Usually emails is best, and they should include the reason why you're asking for an evaluation. Definitely include your child's full name, their birthday, the name and location of their school, your name, your address, how the team can best contact you, whether that's phone number or email. And if you have a language, a preferred language that is not English, we can provide you with someone, an interpreter, and we'll get through language support in a little bit. And someone can support you in your preferred language. And also, if you've had any evaluations or other assessments and reports that you would like to share with the team, please provide that as well. What happens after referral is made? First, a parent will get a notice of referral, which is a letter that will explain your rights as your child's parent or guardian or caregiver. It will give you the name or phone number and contact information to the New York City Public Schools staff member who will answer your questions or your point person. The second thing, after you get that letter, you will get another notice that will say you will have your social history meeting. And that meeting typically is with a social worker or someone on the IEP team that will ask you about background information just so the team can understand your child better. Also, this can be done in your preferred language. An interpreter will be provided. And again, during that meeting, the team will explain your rights to you. And thirdly, you will get a consent for evaluation. You will be asked to sign a form called the consent for initial evaluation. And this form will again be given to you in your preferred language. Even if you were the one asking for the evaluation, we still need that permission to begin any testing and any evaluation. And typically, the school team has 60 calendar days from receiving your consent to evaluate your child and recommend a program. And what happens during an evaluation? The evaluation process looks at different areas to understand how your child learns and get to know what supports they may need. And this will include a psychoeducational assessment, which will understand how your child thinks and learns, a physical exam, a classroom observation, which basically means a team member will watch your child, see how they learn, how they interact within their classroom, and how they learn, and any other assessments that the team feels can really explore areas where your child may need help. For children who speak a language other than English at home, your child may be referred to for a bilingual evaluation. And that just means that they'll be assessed in both English and their home language to get the most accurate picture of what their needs are. After the evaluation, once everything is completed, you'll be invited to a meeting called an Individualized Education Program, or an IEP meeting. At this meeting, the team, which includes you, the parent or caregiver, will go over all the evaluations and talk about next steps for your child's learning and support. What happens at the IEP meeting? The meeting will be held by the Committee on Special Education, CSE, or School IEP team. At the meeting, a team of people, including you, the parent, will come together to talk about your child. They'll look at all those evaluations that we spoke about earlier and decide if your child is eligible for special education services. If your child is found eligible, the team will work together during the IEP meeting to create an IEP that supports your child's unique learning needs. The IEP will describe the special education services that will be provided to support your child's unique needs. What is an individualized education program or an IEP? An IEP is a written plan that ensures your child receives a free and appropriate public education, also known as FAPE, in the least restrictive environment, also known as LRE. It outlines your child's strengths and needs and the supports and services needed to help them achieve their goals on their IEP and succeed in school. What you will see on an IEP, all the way at the top, is called a disability classification, which means that the team, the IEP team, including you, determines which disability category or classification has the greatest impact on your child's educational performance. And there are 13 of them seen here on the screen. Autism, deaf and blindness are one of the few that you can see here. And a lot of parents see the 13 and say, "Oh, my student can fit in more than one," and that is all true. But the team must decide on one of them to list at the top, and then in the whole IEP, they can talk about the other ones that may also be impacting them. Special education services and programs. We're going to talk a lot tonight about that and do a very big overview. If you have any questions, I will share contact information. So the first one is SETS, which is Special Education Teacher Support Services. This is a special education teacher that gives help to students within the classroom, either in a small group or individually, or outside of the classroom. And they're there to support the student directly and indirectly in the classroom. What does that mean? They help the classroom teacher to meet your students' needs. Also, ICT, or integrated co-teaching. A general education teacher and a special education teacher work together to support students with and without IEPs within the same classroom, helping all students learn, like with math or reading, and give extra support. Special class, or most commonly known as 12 to 1s or 15 to 1s. These are smaller classrooms that are made up of only students with IEPs who have similar learning needs. A special education teacher leads the classroom and provides academic instruction support separate from general education classroom. Additional special education programs, and I have a lot listed here, and some of you may have heard these before. We provide District 75 or D75 programming, which are specialized teaching and services for students with significant learning and behavior. These supports can happen in a special class in a public school, schools where all students have IEPs, in agencies, hospitals, or even at home when needed. We also provide many specialized programs, and a few are listed here. We have the D75 inclusion, which students learn alongside peers with and without IEPs with the support of staff. ACES, which focuses on academics, job readiness, and everyday life skills. AIMS, Horizon, and NEST, which are designed for students with autism. Our bilingual special education, which is supports our students who learn a language other than English and may need special education services. iRead program, which is a reduced class size ICT, which supports students with early reading struggles and or are at risk for dyslexia or their print-based reading disabilities. And then we have our PATH program, who supports students needing intensive social, emotional, and behavior support, but need that integrated learning in their classroom and school-wide. The types of related services that a student can have in an IEP. You may see these services listed under a classroom program that I mentioned prior. We have plenty. We have occupational therapy, also known as OT. We have physical therapy, also known as PT. Speech and language therapy. We have sign language interpreters, counseling, assistive technology, or also known as AT. All of these are available to your student within the classroom and outside the classroom. Now, how in-class related support supports student success. A lot of parents may look at all these slides and say, wow, this is a lot of programs, a lot of services. A lot of it can happen within the classroom so that students do not miss out on classroom instructions, which will prevent them from falling behind. Students can practice their skills in the classroom with their peers. Transitions can reduce them having a smoother schedule like their peers, and service providers can easily connect their lessons with what the teacher is doing within the classroom. Now, you may be saying, well, my student has an IEP and they're always pulled out. These are some of the questions that we suggest that you can ask your IEP team. How much time will my child spend outside the classroom? How long does my child receive these services? And does my child's IEP goals align with what is happening in the classroom or outside the classroom? Now I'm going to introduce you to one of our amazing, amazing district leaders in the Bronx who supports our families in the Bronx. Gwendolyn, as Brittany had introduced her earlier, and she's going to speak to how families are partners with our students with disabilities and all our special education staff across the city. So Gwen, take it away.
Well, thank you so much for that introduction, Joanna. Like she mentioned, my name is Gwendolyn Poirier. I'm the Special Education Community Support Coordinator for the entire Bronx. And if you're here from other boroughs, there is someone in my position that supports all boroughs. So we'll get into the families as partners. Family collaboration is encouraged and necessary to ensure the carryover of skills and strategies learned across environments. As was mentioned in the beginning, you are a team member, part of the IEP team. And in order to increase the efficacy of what the student can do and succeed in, we want you to carry over the skills that they share in school and resources and go ahead and reinforce them at home. And that way we have a greater chance of the child's success. Next slide. Newcomer families who need special education support. NYC public school staff, including IEP teams, do not ask families about immigration status or country of origin, excuse me. We do not see you as a status. We see you as an individual, as a person, and we're here to provide supports. Families arriving in New York from outside of the United States are considered for special education eligibility in the same way as other students. If your child received services before arriving in NYC, or you have documents or other information that describe your child's disability, please make sure to give it to the team. More information and more data, make sure that we give you the proper individualized supports. Any information that you can provide can make sure that it's customized and tailored to give the best outcome possible for your child. Schools and CSCs must accept parent referrals and begin the evaluation process for all families, regardless of home language or when the family arrived in NYC. So as was mentioned earlier, you make sure that you submit a referral if you believe that there's a need, and the steps will continue to take place as Joanna outlined in the earlier slides. Next one. Language support. It is very important to us that you understand what's being provided to you. So the Office of Language Access provides free translations services for IEPs into any language available to NYC Public Schools and committees on special education. To request an IEP translation, ask your CSE or school IEP team or submit the following form. As a parent, you don't need to submit the form directly. If you're unsure, just let your IEP team member know that you would like your document translated. The IEPs are translated, as I mentioned, at no cost to you, and we want to ensure that you are able to understand the information that was explained to you verbally, and you can use this document to reference at a later date. The Office of Sign Language Interpreting Services also provides free ASL English interpreting services for deaf, hard of hearing families, caregivers, staff, students, and other stakeholders throughout the New York City public schools. Here we have included the information for the different ways that you can contact and request for this support. You can also, like I said, mention it to someone on your IEP team member, and the school can request this on your behalf as well. So we want to make sure that you have multiple ways of getting the resources that you need to help support your child. Next. IEP parent members. Here's some more resources that can be very helpful and beneficial, and particularly when having the IEP meeting. An IEP parent member are parents who help other families. They use their own experience and knowledge about special education to support and have them actively participate in the IEP meeting. The IP members share a unique lens that they can share with you, because one of the criteria that are necessary to become a parent member is to either have a child with an IEP or a child who has had an IEP within the last 5 years. So they can absolutely help advocate what you're trying to relay to the school team, and it could just give you the proper words to relay any concerns that you may have. How to request. If a family wants a parent member at their child's IEP meeting, they should let the CSE, CPSC, or school IEP team know by email or in person at least 3 days, which is 72 hours before the meeting. We want to make sure that we give ample time for someone to answer the request. So at the very least, we would prefer 3 days. How to become a parent member. So parent member trainings are offered throughout the year by Include NYC. You can go to includenyc.org, which serves as the Family and Community Engagement Center, or FACE, as we like to call it, for all 5 New York City boroughs under the New York State Education Department's Office of Special Education. So you can go in, there's certain criteria. The first step is, though, attending the training. And after you attend the training, you'll get explained the next steps to complete the process of becoming an IEP member. Next slide. Ask and share. This is a tool for family and schools to create a student-centered IEP. I really encourage the use of this tool because it gives you a way of organizing your thoughts, of prompting you on what areas you can ask during your IEP meeting, questions that pertain to that section of the IEP that's being explained. It also gives you suggestions if you're not sure exactly what to ask. And it also gives you a checklist that is also formatted in the order in which the IEP meeting will take place. There's different types: elementary school, middle school, and high school. The needs do change slightly throughout the year, so we wanted to make sure that we tailored it to the demographic that you're attending a meeting for. Next. New York City Schools Account, or NYCSA. The New York City Schools Account is an account that's available to all parents. For students currently receiving special education services, parents have access to the Individualized Education Program, or IEP page, which appears as an IEP button on the dashboard. Like I mentioned, all parents have access, but students who do have an IEP will have this extra tile with information in it. Next. So this is an example of a parent view. This is what you would see if you click the IEP tile. Here you will get a synopsis or a snapshot of what is included in your child's IEP, and particularly the recommended special education programs and services page that you will have a physical copy of on your IEP that shows what classroom setting your child is going to be in, as you see in this page. And here you can also see what is the recommended program that's included in the IEP. The example that you can see here is ICT, and it gets as detailed as even showing you when ICT, there's two teachers, which of the two are certified in special education. So it really gives you information so that you're aware of what services are being provided for your child. Next. Part of the IEP parent view includes the related services, if that is included in your child's IEP. Here you can see what service, which therapy, OT, PT, speech, parent training, the frequency, how often you'll get it. And I skipped over language, but language, there are times where the language that the service needs to be provided is other than English. That will be indicated here as well. The frequency, like I mentioned, you see how many times a week or monthly in this case with the parent training, and the date range. The date range mimics typically the current finalized IEP. The first date of service will also be provided when the service provider enters their notes, and the latest day of service. And it will include typically the provider's name. There are times where you can see that the date of latest documented service has a bit of a lag or could be behind. Just know that the providers do have a time period as to which they are allowed to enter their session notes. So typically it will be updated once they have all the notes in. That does not mean that the services aren't being provided, but if you're unclear, you can always check in with your school team. Transportation. So this also gives you information on your child's transportation if it's included in your IEP. Here you'll be able to find the name of the bus company, the information that they have as to where your child is scheduled to be picked up, the phone number of the company, the time that they're scheduled. So you should have your child outside at the specific time indicated here, and also where they're being dropped off. You can also see as of when the service is provided or activated in the account. And you also want to make sure through here that the information is correct. There are times where parents, you do move, and so sometimes the information doesn't always trickle down. So here's a way that you can ensure that that information is the most up to date. If it's not, reach out to your school team. They can update it right away.
Thank you so much, Gwen, for sharing. As we mentioned, Gwen does represent and help support all families in the Bronx. So if you have a student who currently has an IEP in the Bronx or you're looking for services, definitely ask your school team. But Gwen most likely will already know that, and she can also support as well. So our additional family resources, as you see displayed here, not only are our ask and shares that Gwen shared, but also we have an awesome resource called our family guides. And we really encourage families to use these guides. They're available on our webpage, which they will drop the link in the chat or the question and answer box so you guys can access these. One is geared to our preschool special education services. That's for our students who are in our preschool programs, and it goes all the way from initial referral to reevaluation and explains thoroughly what services we have for our preschoolers. Our second one, which is updated annually, is our kindergarten orientation guide. And if you have a current 4-year-old who will be entering kindergarten next year or turning 5, you will all be going through a KIP, what we call the KIP process or the kindergarten IEP process. And there is a special guide for those families as the process does shift a little bit when the students enter kindergarten. And we have a guide for that as well. We have our school age, our family guide to preschool, family guide to special education services for our school age children. Again, those are students within the ages 5 through 21. And this really goes into depth on all services and programs that we have. A little Information is outdated, but for the most part, the foundational parts of what an IEP is, what services we provide, is the same. And our last ones, we can't forget our students who are transitioning outside of high school and moving on from New York City Public Schools. We have a guide for you families that are transitioning planning. For those students, we call it Preparing Students with IEPs for Life After High School. It's all about what programs are out there throughout our city. How can you start preparing now? This is a great, great resource as well. So, if you don't remember anything of this whole presentation and you're like, oh, so much information, which we know, you can contact us at our citywide support inbox, specialeducation@schools.nyc.gov. There are live people, including myself and some of the people on this call tonight, that do answer those emails, and we're really here to support you all. Also, if you email the inbox, you will also get the link to this, our resource page. Again, Beyond Access is on there. So many resources and support. So we wanted to thank you all for coming tonight. We really do appreciate your time. And again, if you need support, we are here. Email us, contact us. We are here to help you. So thank you all for your time. And we look forward and we'll see you at the next Beyond Access series next month. Thank you so much.